Hey, hi, hello there, I'm DilyDaly, and this is the Rogue-lite Power Hour for Shogun Showdown, and potentially the last one for a while, because we're going to be changing things up. I don't know if you're aware. If you haven't seen any of the other Rogue-lite Power Hours for the last few days, we're changing up the schedule quite a bit. So, for one, I'm going to talk about this now before I go into the post-commentary like I normally do for Shogun Showdown now, but I just wanted to say that I'm going to be changing things up. For one, Sundays are now going to be Skul Sundays. Then Mondays are going to be different revolving roguelite power hours, roguelite games they'll be playing. So it'll be Balatro, Ball X Pit, Shogun Showdown will be in there, but also all of the old ones that I used to play, on top of a bunch of new ones that I never really got to play when I used to do roguelite power hours every day. And so, because of that, Thursday is no longer going to be a roguelite power hour day. It's going to be community games only. But that also means if you guys don't suggest anything the previous week, there's not going to be a Thursday video. So if you guys want there to be a Thursday video, you guys need to suggest something. Fridays are going to be, for now, they're a break day, because it used to be Sunday, but now Fridays are going to be my break day. And unfortunately, I haven't been streaming because I just haven't really felt the need to stream at the moment. So because of that, I don't have any VODs to upload for Friday. So I might make that a different kind of video day. And then finally for Saturdays, Vampire Survivor Saturdays, the thing that's going to be changing is that Vampire Survivors is no longer going to be a roguelite power hour. Is going to be Vampire Survivor Saturdays. It's a whole new series that I'm going to be working on, where I talk about, right now it's going to be Psych, where I talk about whatever I need to talk about for Psych, or for whatever show that I'm watching, whatever thing I've watched or experienced that week, and I talk about it, and then I record the gameplay for Vampire Survivors, instead of the other way around. So instead of playing the game for an hour and then having to fill in the time for an hour, I will talk for however long I need to talk to. It could be 20 minutes, could be 40, could be an hour, could be 2 hours, could be 3 hours, and then I play for that amount of time to fill in for background footage. Now with all that in mind, let's go to the post commentary where I talk about random bullshit. Hey guys, random bullshit here. So I kind of just stood there for a little bit extra time than I really needed to, but I just wanted to say, to elaborate a little bit more about what the schedule stuff. So I think I was pretty succinct in explaining everything. You know, just like Skul on Sunday, and then a random, not random, but in a rotation of roguelites that I'll be playing for the power hour for Monday, and then Tuesday will be 20 Minutes Till Dawn all the time, every time. Witchfire Wednesdays all the time, every time. Thursdays will be community game, and I wanted to elaborate on the community game. The reason why I explained everything just a second ago is just in case, you know, I'm stupid and I don't really remember what I said and didn't say. So I'm coming from the future. It's been an hour since I recorded that intro, so I'm back, and I'll say this ending is pretty cool to this video, so stick around for that. Anyway, the Thursday community video. It's gonna be, I'm calling it the community hour, where basically you guys pick a game. Any game, I'd prefer if it's not a roguelite, because if it's a roguelite, I can just play it for the roguelite power on Monday. I can add it to the rotation, I can just play it. It could be part of the regular rotation of games. Meanwhile, Thursdays can be community game, where I play a game you guys suggest, a game with you guys if you want, and I play it for an hour. Okay, it's an hour of recording. Not like it'll be an hour-long video. So like if you guys want to play a game together, like you guys want me to stream something and we play a game or something, then we record for an hour, you know, hang out and record for an hour, and then maybe I edit it into funny moments kind of thing. Or maybe you guys just want me to try out a game and I'll play that for an hour. You know, it could be any kind of game. It could be Valorant, it could be Osu, it could be, like, I'm trying to spitball, like, outside range here. It could be Elden Ring, it can be Dark Souls 3, it can be Lies of P, now I'm going down Souls. Like, you get the idea. It could be any kind of game like that. It's just about whether you guys suggest it or not. And I also wanted to mention for for Vampire Survivors is that, to elaborate what I started to mention before, which was that I might not always talk about Psych. Vampire Survivor Saturdays will now be named videos. So typically, as you've seen, I name the video the game I'm playing, what video number it is, like how many like videos I've made of this game so far, and like the subtitle, which is that it's a Rogue-lite Power Hour, or that it's Game Sense, or that it's a playback VOD, or that it's, you know what I mean? But like the playback VODs, I name the playback VODs based on the name of the stream. So for Vampire Survivors, I'll be naming the Vampire Survivor Saturday based on the name, or like based on the thing I'm going to be talking about. So for this one coming up, I'm going to be talking about the entirety of what I've experienced from Psych. That's Psych Season 1 to Season 7. Okay? Hopefully by the time that video, by the time that comes around, I will have finished Psych Season 7. I saw that Psych Season 7 and Psych Season 8 are a lot shorter. So I'm not going to promise that I'm going to get through it, but I might, you know. Getting all the way to 14 is the basic, you know, get to episode 14, which is shorter than 6, if I remember correctly. Yeah, season 6 was 16 episodes. And then season 8 is 11 episodes. So getting through Psych Season 7 shouldn't be too difficult, but it is going to be sit through. I'm on episode 10 right now, so I just have to get through 4 more episodes and then get through the 10 episodes of season 8. So maybe if I get through all of it, by the time Vampire Survivors comes around, I will talk about the entirety of Psych, and then the next Vampire Survivors, I'll talk about my entire feelings on Fallout, because that just came out. And then when the next episode, or Jujutsu Kaisen, or if I watch the next episode of Jujutsu Kaisen, I'll talk about Jujutsu Kaisen in its entirety. It's just, I want Vampire Survivors to be where I make fully succinct thoughts on what I'm talking about. Maybe even I script it. I add like little editing things like, what episode I'm talking about will be on screen, like not like the episode playing, but like on Amazon where I watch Psych, I can pull up the episode and it'll have the thumbnail for the episode, which is sometimes kind of janky. Sometimes it's a thumbnail from a different episode. There'll be a thumbnail for the episode, the date it aired, and it'll be a synopsis of the episode. And I can have that little square up on screen, and also have the name of the episode, and I can have that thumbnail up, like that little like square up on screen while I'm talking about it. And that works for Vampire Survivors because there's not a whole lot you need to be paying attention to on screen aside from what items I have and like what's coming at me, and that's all in the center and in the top left. And then if you want to look at my coins, it's the top right. But there's nothing in the bottom right that I'll be covering if I put the square down there, if I put it like middle, like, or down center, or down left. There's not a whole, well, I guess down left I might cover some of the stats, so I guess down middle. Well, the down middle also has what items I've cursed or banished, so I guess down right. I'll put it in the bottom right, so that you guys know what episode I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. And then I'll talk about the entirety of what I've seen, or the entirety of Fallout. I'll even talk about just other shit. Like, there's a lot of anime that I have like strong feelings about because I have a lot of. So me and my friends have spent the entirety of us watching anime together, rating all of these shows. Okay, it's not just anime, but just like animation. So stuff like Arcane, right? Or like we watched Edge Runners, we watched Vivi, we watched a lot of Sword Art Online. I watched all of it. I've seen all of that SAO. Aside from some of the newer like Alicization, it was a little bit patchy here and there. like I'd been watching and then I'd fall asleep or I'd wake up and like I don't remember where I was at. And I'd just kind of jump in wherever, and then my brother would be watching and I'd see him watching. I just watch wherever he was at. But then we watched stuff like Witch of Mercury, Grimgar, by far my favorite isekai ever. Fight me. And then like Medaka Box. I'm just kind of reading down the list. Steins Gate, best time travel anime, period. I don't know if there's another time travel anime that is better than that. I'll be honest, it's like one of 3 time travel animes I've watched. Or time travel shows in general, actually. I should be specific there. That I've watched. And then we watched the Devil May Cry Netflix anime. We watched Overlord. Or my friends say I watched Overlord with them. I don't remember doing that, so I don't have a rating for that. But I did watch the Overlord movie, the something Kingdom. I forgot it was called. What Kingdom it was. I just put Overlord SK movie, so I don't remember. We watched the episode 0 for Gundam Cukes. Jikooks, whatever the hell. It's on Prime. And I liked that episode 0 a lot more than like the first couple episodes of that anime. I will also mention, as a preemptive, a couple of these anime I actually have reaction videos to that I'm planning on putting up on like a Patreon, or maybe I'll edit it around and I'll put it up on YouTube. But I'll have to see how other people are doing it and figure out what's okay and not okay before I just start throwing stuff out there. But I do have a lot of recordings of me and my friends watching some of these, so I will try to get those out, post them when I upload stuff like the Vampire Star Saturday video. I haven't been recording myself watching Psych, so there's not going to be anything for that, unfortunately. Unless I watch like the Psych movie or something. But I'm not a very big reactor, I just kind of sit and watch. And then I also wanted... So, aside from all of that, you know, all of those, like, being able to talk about each of those shows and series and movies and whatever, I also want to talk about content, just kind of content that I've been doing and been working toward. What I wanted from the what I wanted from the streams was the ability to make clips to like really start growing, because the YouTube's great and it's a solid way to make a genuine foundation for creativity, among other things. But I'm not a very creative person or creatively talented person when it comes to like making art, or like when it comes to making art or making animations or drawing or just like doing anything like that. I'm a good-ish editor, and that's only like to the degree that I don't know how to use a lot of effects. I just use whatever was made from the shot, you know. Like, I've made edits here and there, and I've shown my friends. Maybe I'll start posting them here on the channel. I have a couple of like stuff. I have things here and there I've been working on, and you know what? Maybe I'll start posting them. They just work in progress. Some whips, you know, because some of them I just don't really like. I need to work on my skills. Okay, but I do enjoy editing. It's a lot easier for me to edit than it is to draw an art piece or to animate or to do a 3D model. I will say, I was working with Blender a little bit, and my tendency for art is to just do symmetry, is to just do math, is basically my tendency when it comes to art, is I will just do math when I'm working on stuff. I will just sit there and I'm like, well, if I do the line that long, I gotta do the line that long on the other side. I gotta, like, I'm good at making stick figures. But in 3D art, like, I was making a 3D model to make a test model for streaming. So I was learning all about, like, how to reformat it into Unreal and then putting it into face rig, like, not face rig, what was the thing I was gonna use? Vinyan. I was gonna use that. But I didn't end up doing any of it because, I'll be honest, at the time I was really tired and I didn't have the time to like really buckle down and start working on it. So I just decided I was going to work on it but not work on it. But I was enjoying it because I was just doing math to make the 3D model. You know, I made just a basic kind of like gray 3D stickman with cylinders and spheres. And I liked it. You know, it's simple, but that's how I was gonna base on making like my model, because my model was just gonna be like it wasn't gonna be a floating hoodie, like floating hood with drawstrings and gloves. You know, I was gonna make like the black silhouette that was gonna look empty, and like I had a couple of ideas, but it's just like that basic idea was just going to be a bunch of spheres and cylinders that I was going to modify to make into what that idea is, like what the icon for the YouTube is. And I was hoping I could make clips off of my reactions and maybe even do little skits and stuff using that 3D model, because I like my anonymity. You know, I'm DilyDaly or Daily. I'm not redacted. You know, I'm not gonna say my name. I'm not him when I'm recording this stuff. I'm sitting here talking to a microphone, staring at two monitors on a TV stand that's a desk that I use as a desk. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad that I'm getting. I'm glad and I really appreciate all the support on all the videos. I'm glad that you guys really liked Witchfire. I'm seeing a lot of dwindling views on those. I think just because of how often I'm posting them. I might go back 2 times a week or every other week. But I am still appreciating the views. I'm appreciating the subs. I really appreciate all of it, because a lot of YouTube is very slow going unless you're making shorts. And I obviously haven't been making shorts since that very short spurt from a while ago. That, to be fair, did really well. And I should probably make more. But like I said, I'm really glad you guys have been showing so much support. But you know what I might do right now? Because I gotta fill up an hour and 10 minutes worth of time, or an hour and 11. I don't remember how much time I said, but I gotta fill up a lot of time here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run through all of my ratings on stuff, you know, make this controversial, you know, fight me. I don't know. And I'll just talk about some stuff involving those ratings for right now, and then I'll make a more succinct and like genuine talk about these things when I make a video about them for Vampire Survivor Saturdays. Because I also wanted to point out for Vampire Survivor Saturdays is they're not going to be they're not going to be Rogue-lite power hours. There's going to be some editing involved. There's going to be some slight modifying, some images, and like Vampire Survivors will be the overarching thing, okay? Gaming, like, I'm still gaming. I'm still going to be playing Vampire Survivors. But the main point is going to be me recording myself talk about the show in question. You know what I mean? And so, with that in mind, I'll be talking first and then recording the game. To elaborate on that from what I mentioned in the intro, and again earlier and in a couple other videos, is what I used to do is I would play Vampire Survivors for an hour, or about an hour. I would cut out any fluff in between, like switching between maps or switching characters, and I would just have gameplay in the background, aside from the initial start where I'd have my intro. And instead of doing that, of playing for an hour and then filling up time like how I am for this post-commentary, instead I'm going to be playing instead I'm going to be talking for X amount of time, and then So like, let's say I talk about the Psych series as a whole for about 20 minutes, right? I talk about my individual ratings for the seasons, the overarching themes, and all of that, right? And then I come back around and like I'd say that takes like 30 minutes, right? 30 minutes of talking. Then I go back to Vampire Survivors and I play for 30 minutes. I get 30 minutes worth of gameplay. Does that make sense? So hang on, give me... So, the Vampire Survivors video will not always be 30 minutes. Will not always be an hour. It might not always be 10, 20 minutes of it. It will be whatever amount of time it takes for me to talk about whatever I want to talk about, and the gameplay will just reflect how long I talked for. But, to assist with that, I'm going to have notes. I might even script it. I might pause it. I'm going to edit any of my flubs and talks and just be very succinct and clear. It's going to be I'm going to try to make it one take, but it's probably not going to be one take. We'll see. But then, I also... Well, not but then. It's just now, also. I want to tell you now. That's what I'm doing for this video. For this post-commentary, I'm cutting out little flubs, little mistakes, and just making myself sound clearer, make sense while I'm talking. Because that's the least I can do, because sometimes I know I get off track and I get confusing. So, with all of that in mind, I'm going to do what I said I was going to do earlier, which is just go through my ratings and be controversial. Starting from the top, which this is just going to be in order of like what me and my friends watch. And I'm not going to say my friends' ratings because that's not fair. They're not here to defend themselves. They don't have a channel to defend themselves, even though one of them definitely should. I'm not going to say who. You guys definitely know who I'm talking about though, because you've watched him, you've laughed at him. Anyway. Arcane Season 1. I gave it a 9. Flat 9. By the way, I should point out, these are out of 10 scale, okay? The rating is out of 10, and we do quarters. So like 10.2 or 10 and 1 quarter, like 10.25. That's not 10. 5.25, 5.5, 5.75. Okay. And the only reason why we did that was because one of my friends was like, well, they're like kind of on the same, like these two things are kind of on the same level, but one is definitely better than the other. So he gave one a 2.5 and the other one a 7.5. Or like he gave one a 0.25 and one a 0.75. A 3/4 and a quarter. Because that just made more sense to him. So, Season 1 of Arcane, I gave it 9. I really enjoyed the season. I don't know a whole lot about Riot, and like I know a lot about Riot, the game, like the game studio, because I've heard about League of Legends a lot. I've watched a lot of the world's song, like music video stuff, because Section always shows me them. I know a lot about Riot as a studio because I pay attention to their games. I was really looking forward to 2XKO, and I still really like 2XKO. I was looking forward to Valorant because I couldn't really get into CSGO. I didn't really like it. Valorant I really enjoyed when it first came out, and I popped off, and then I took a long break, and then everyone else got way better. Everyone else learned the game, and it turns out oh my god, I'm so good at this game at the beginning, was not because I was really good at the game. It was because everyone else was just not good yet. So, without dragging that conversation on, I still really enjoy Valorant, 2XKO. I will never try League. You can't make me unless you do ask me to play League for community hour. In that case, I'll be playing that game for an hour and I will want to die. But, with that in mind, Arcane was a great series. It was a great introduction to characters I didn't really know about. Like, I knew about Jinx because I had watched the Wild Rift, like, music video. I knew about a couple of these characters,
their redesigns for League, or not for League, for Arcane were really good. Made them feel a little bit more natural, because to be fair, League of Legends makes them just appealing. They had their own style, so going from that to what the style is now in Arcane and in some of the newer like music videos and stuff is a lot more distinct. It was just an upgrade, a lot more updated compared to what League had at the start. And then, to not get too overly detailed about that, I'll move on. Arcane Season 1. Great season, great story, loved it. Arcane Season 2. I gave that a 10. Now, hold on. I know Season 2 was weaker. It was, 100%. However, my bias kick comes in here. I really like Echo as a character. Okay? And I don't mean none of this pretentious bullshit. This fucking... Oh, he's the reason everyone lives. None of that. Okay? None of that. I like Echo because he's cool. That's it. I think he's cool. And I like his design. I like what he does. I like the scenes he's in. He's cool. I like Echo because he's cool. Okay? And he had a lot of screen time. And so I really like Season 2 for that. I also like that they weren't really pulling any punches in Season 2. They were going balls to the wall. Everything is happening right now. Deal with it. Everything. And they didn't waste any time. I really appreciated that. I liked the amount of action. I loved all the music. I listened to so much of the music from Arcane Season 2. There was a lot of music I listened to in Season 1, but not nearly as much as Season 2. But I don't have a whole lot of like talking. Like that's about everything that I have to talk about for Season 2. Yeah, sorry, I had to think about it. I'm pretty sure. I want to make sure I'm not lying to you. Edge Runners, however, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, I watched that by myself first because I was just sitting on Netflix and it was like the night it came out and I was bored sitting at home laying in bed and I was just on Netflix and I looked at it and I go, what is this? And I just watched all of it in one night. Like, I had done that before with Voltron, which I don't have a rating on here for because it's been so long since I watched it. I actually should probably... Actually, it's not on Netflix anymore. Is it not on Netflix anymore? I'm gonna find out. Hold on. Okay, so Voltron's no longer on Netflix. I had heard about it leaving Netflix, and I had kind of forgotten to like sit and rewatch it when I had the time because I just didn't have the time. So unfortunately, I'm not gonna get through that. Well, I might look it up. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Anyway, Edge Runners. I sat through it one night. Had such an emotional roller coaster for one night because everything fucking happens. Like there was a distinct moment in Arcane and in Edge Runners. I think it's both in episode 3, or is it episode 4? I think it's 4 in Edge Runners, episode 3 in Arcane, because they're both very short seasons. Edge Runners is a very short series. There's going to be season 2 out this year, I think, but both of them are very short, and so everything's very compact. Edge Runners was very strange for me because I related very particularly with David because so we're gonna get personal here for a second. I watched Edge Runners and just felt so vindicated because it's very similar to David. When my mom died, right, it wasn't anything as tragic or as impersonal as what David went through when his mom died, but that feeling of not knowing what to do and just kind of being on rails until you meet that person that makes you feel like you know what you're supposed to be doing. Is such a distinct feeling that I don't think a lot of people can really relate to. And unfortunately for me, my situation was different. My dad was around. Not talking about that. That's a can of worms. But I felt vindicated in that feeling of being so lost and so unaware of the feelings that I was feeling, and just assuming that it's what just had to happen, what just had to have been what was going on, until it wasn't. And it all came crashing down, not nearly as dramatically as it did for the finale for David, but it felt very similar, because I felt very vindicated in how I was feeling, because I felt lost. I felt like I didn't understand what was going on, because I didn't, but I felt like I should have known. I felt like the rails that I was getting put on, for David, it was joining the Edge Runners, joining what are they called? Joining the gang with Maine and everything. And for me, that was going to high school and just joining with the group that made the most sense, and just kind of existing in this world that I knew nothing about, just allowing for everything to go on in the way that it was. And I don't think that could have been put any other way. I don't think it could have been made to be any I don't think there was another way that any of it could have happened, or could have I don't think there could have been a way that any of it would have been better depicted in the anime. I don't think there was a way that it could have been any different for myself watching it all happen and just existing through it. And so watching the anime made me so, I don't know, it gave me this feeling that I was too familiar with, but I couldn't place. But yeah, Edge Runners, I gave it a 10 because I have a lot of emotional and personal bias toward it, and I just really enjoyed the show. And then we have Pluto. Okay, Pluto was something, man. I watched Pluto with one of my friends and my brother, and it had such a great start. Episode 1 and episode 2 were so great. They were so interesting, and I was so invested and involved, and I was so ready for it to keep going. And then it never got back to that level of hype or interest at all. The story just kept getting worse and less interesting as it kept going on. And so I gave it a 5 because the beginning was great. Okay, that's 2 points right there. So this is how it works for me, okay? If there's a beginning, middle, and end. The beginning gets 2 points. The middle gets 2 points, and the ending gets 1 point. That ending does not have to be great. It just has to end, and it gets a point. Okay, that's the basic 5. Now, depending on the medium, if it's animation, okay, if it's animation, the animation has to be good. If it's good, it gets a point. Okay, that's 6 points now. If the story was interesting, had me like it, depending on the genre. Okay, now we've got genre. So the medium is animation. The animation has to be good. Okay, that's 1 point. The genre, it has to fit the genre. That's another point. Okay, that's 7 points. Okay, and the other 3 points are split up and diversified depending on outside factors. Stuff like music and the feeling you get while watching, okay, and while experiencing the show, okay? And the third thing that it gets split into for the third point is just bias, okay? So for me, Arcane, it didn't get that last point because it just didn't quite hold me. Okay, like I was there, I was interested, I loved it, but I just wasn't super invested. So for me, it lost that last point, right? Also, that was a pain in the ass. I'm so upset I did that to myself. I just drove myself into a fucking explosion. At least that's what I'm seeing. I don't know if I'm lined up properly at all with this, but anyway. So that's my rating scheme, okay? Pluto, the beginning was fantastic. The middle was losing me, so instead of 2 points, it gets 1. So that's 3 points. Animation was pretty good. Okay, so that's 4. That's 4 points. The genre was held together pretty well. That's 5 points. And I hated the ending, so it doesn't get a point for that. I stopped caring about halfway through. So I'm not giving it a point for bias. I'm not giving it a point for interest. And the music was there. It didn't wow me, so I'm not giving it a point for that. So Pluto's getting a 5. Pluto's getting a 5 out of 10. I enjoyed just sitting and being entertained by it, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. That's another thing. What the rating point means. Me and Section kind of really put it together, which was that 7, I would recommend it if you enjoy this kind of show, right? Pluto, I can recommend if you know about and like Astro Boy, or you like the author's previous stuff, you can go and watch it. You will like it way more than I did. But if you don't know any of that stuff, don't enjoy anime, you don't like any of these other things, I'm not going to recommend it to you. It was not going to be part of the conversation, okay? That's just how I view Pluto, personally. If you really loved it, you really liked it, and I'm happy for you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I stopped fucking caring after episode 4. I don't even remember how many episodes there are, actually. Let me look. How many episodes are there? I don't think there's that many. But I stopped caring. Pluto. There's 8 episodes. I watched episode 1. It was fucking fantastic. Wait, no, was it 1 or 2? Another horned corpses found. I think it's episode 2. Whichever the episode was with the guy in the wheelchair and the robot learning how to play piano. Okay. I think that was episode 2. But the first 2 episodes had me so invested, so interested. And that interest just slowly diminished, going from 3 to 4. And then 5 and 6, I was watching, but I wasn't understanding. I was understanding, but I was watching and wasn't caring. And then 7, I was like, why are we here? What are we doing? What's supposed to be happening? I'm just experiencing what's experiencing, man. I don't know. And then the show ended on 8, and I just didn't give a shit. I just did not care at all. I just stopped caring completely. I'm just gonna have that open, actually. I'm just gonna have Netflix and Crunchyroll open. Just so I can, like, have the information to pull from here. Wow. Let me talk, okay? So yeah, Pluto, didn't love it. In fact, I disliked it. I'll say that. Vivi. Okay? Vivi had a similar problem to Pluto. Okay? I really enjoyed Vivi. And if you don't know what Vivi is, I'll just type Vivi and I'll just give you the full name. Vivi. It's Vivi, okay, V-I-V-Y, Florette Eyes Song, okay? 13 episode season. 13 episode series. Very good. I would recommend it if you enjoy music. I recommend it if you enjoy sci-fi, if you enjoy just things of that nature. But if you want a very good story, you want good writing, you want a conclusive ending that makes sense, you're gonna need to go somewhere else. Okay? I don't know if you love this show, I don't know if you really like this show, but you have to admit that ending was not good. I'm gonna hold myself back on that. It was not good. It did not make any sense for any of it to happen the way that it did. And then just for it to go all the way to the end and Vivi's back, I was just so annoyed with the entire ending. And that hurt it so bad. Because here's the thing with those last 3 points I mentioned, one of them is bias. Those last 3 points, technically they're all biased. They're all just subjective personal feeling, right? That's how it works for me. I could just not give any of them, even though they meet the criteria. I just could not give any. And that's what happened with this show, okay? It met all the basic criteria, okay? And then the animation was amazing, so that's a 6. It has a 6 so far, okay? I gave it a half point, because the music, it's about music. It's about a performer android. So, I gave it a half point. So, because it's supposed to be good, okay? And it was. So I gave it a half point. And then that would put it at 6.5. And since it wasn't a full point, the next 3 points, because of how the ending was, I couldn't give. Okay? The beginning was good. It started losing me a little bit in the middle. So it was 2 points, then I'm going to give it the full 2, so that's 4. The ending sucked balls. The ending sucked balls. It sucked balls. It was not good. Okay? So that's 4 points. And then I gave it a point for great animation, that's 5. You know what? Great music. I'll give it a 6. I'll give it the 6 for the great music. And I'll give it a half point for the great moments that I had. That it did have. Even in the middling bad that was toward the middle and the end, I was still very interested and very intrigued in how everything was going on. So I'll give it the half point. I give it overall 6.5. There were some great moments at the beginning, at the middle, and in the end I just got so tired. I just didn't care. I'm sorry. Like, not even tired and I didn't care. I was so upset. I cared too much. Because we got to the end. And I was just so pissed off. Like, why did Professor Guy that sent Vivi back in time have to die again? You clearly had time to go save him. You clearly had time to go and reverse everything. You, like, shutting down everything while it made, like that had to be done. I was kind of pissed about how dramatic they made it. But if we're removing that aspect, okay, because it's anime, it's got to be dramatic, whatever. I'll move on. I'll move on from that. But how everything went down. Because again, Professor Guy got saved in the first attempt in the second to last episode. In the second attempt, why couldn't they just save him and then continue what they did in the first one? And just this time, shut everything down. with him alive. He didn't have to die. He didn't have to die. Okay? It was so stupid. I was so annoyed. And then in the first place, okay, the stupid tower is connected to Vivi. She could just sing her song from anywhere. It didn't have to be on the stage. It didn't have to wait until half the rebellion died. It didn't have to wait till the doctor died. Just sing the fucking song. You can be all dramatic about it all you want. Didn't have to be on the stage. It didn't have to be where it was you were created. It didn't have to be when all of the robots are rebelling. It could have been sung anywhere. You could have been sent back any number of times to then just sing the song, get it over with. But no, so many people, so many robots, so many things had to die for dramatic effect that I did not care about. In total, we spent an episode and a half total with some of these future characters, okay? I couldn't care less about them. You're adding the dramatic effect of their death. That doesn't matter to me because I don't know any of them. I don't care about any of these characters. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think that I can't give any craps. The only person I cared about was the professor because he was trying to fix everything. And then he still died anyway when he didn't have to. We know he didn't have to because they did it the first time. They saved him the first time. It was ridiculous. It was stupid. It was unbelievable. But I'll move on because I have another rant to go on about a whole different show. An anime called Witch of Mercury. Which, in fairness, I don't know what it is about Gundam shows, Mecha Gundam, but having episode zeros that are so fucking fire. Episode 0 of Witch of Mercury is so good. It's such an amazing. I have a rating for that by itself. I gave it a 9. It was so good. I was genuinely so invested in that. Like in episode 0. Oh, it was so good. I genuinely really liked it. And then season 1, I gave it a 7.5. I liked the character. To be honest, the beginning, middle, and end had all the points, so I gave it 5 points for that. The animation was good, but I wasn't too interested in the mecha stuff, so I'll give it the 1, so that's 6. The music was really good. I gave it a 7 for that. And then I only gave it a half point because some of the over dramatization of like the character arcs were there. Like some of the characters were too stereotypical. I felt they were too characterized. They weren't really like, you couldn't believe them to be like living, breathing characters, like people. They were too characterized to a point. So it was hard for me to really get invested. I was really invested in the 2 main girls and the mom. Like, I was invested in that whole thing. And like the dad, or the other main girl's dad. Like, I was invested in all of that, like that relationship between the 4 of them and how it was playing out throughout. But I liked the twist toward the end. Right at the end. Not toward the end, right at the end. Where it really threw a wrench in the 2 main girls' relationship. But I didn't like what it did going into season 2, which is by far the biggest downfall, biggest downgrade I think I've ever fucking seen. Because season 2 is just a rehash of season 1, okay? You can't tell me otherwise. With just new plot points. It is season 1, again, with new plot points. And like with it's new plot points, but not new story beats, if that makes sense. Like, it's the same shit happening with slightly adjusted character motivations. And some character growth from characters I did not give a shit about. It did not make me care about these characters more. It was characters that I didn't care about, so it was 0, multiplied by any number of care, is still gonna be fucking 0. Okay? Like the purple-haired guy, I didn't care. I did not care about him at all. Not in the slightest. I did not give a shit. Not even a little bit. I ended up giving season 2 a 6. I know I know I talked big about how it was just a serious downgrade, but like that 1.5 is a big deal because season 1 I recommend if you really enjoy this stuff, you'd probably give it a 9, probably give it a 10. You probably really like it. I'm talking about this, you probably hate me right now, but you have to agree. Going from season 1 to season 2 is way worse. The relationship between the two main girls gets hindered incredibly, which is fair after the end of season 1. I don't complain about that. I'm not being dramatic. I'm not disagreeing with how dramatic they were being, but how it continued and how the white hair girl was finally getting so interpersonal, was letting go of everything, and then for her to completely forget about all of that character growth she had because because here's the thing. In season 1, the white hair girl has a lot of character growth that goes on, right? In season 1, that culminates toward that doesn't even culminate in season 1, but like she does grow. She starts becoming a little bit more personable, less logistical, more honest, more capable, more just herself. Red hair girl brings it out of her, and it's great, and that's awesome. And then red hair girl, she does the thing at the end. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And that hinders the relationship. I understand, that makes sense. But why does that completely reverse all of the character growth we just had with the white hair girl? Okay? You just became a person. You just became an honest, capable person. You're no longer a bitch. You're finally not a bitch. Why are you acting like a bitch? Okay? That's the long and short of it. Okay? You're finally not a bitch. I understand if you want to be a bitch to the red hair girl. Why are you saying the things you were saying? Why are you going through with the plans that you are planning that completely reverse all of the character growth you just fucking had? I was so pissed off about that. And then red hair girl is just acting like how she always was. Like, she didn't really have character growth. She just stayed true to how she was. Yeah, that's fine for me. Honestly, that's 100% on it. That's 100% fair, and I had no problems with that. I had 0 problems with that. But yeah, and then the ending, it wrapped everything up fine, I guess. So 6 for season 2. Overall, I'd probably give it a 6.5. Okay. With all that in mind, Witch of Mercury, maybe you hate me, maybe you don't. I don't know. I'll be honest, there's a weird stop here and resume because my brother interrupted me. So I just cut out with some random stuff. But now we talk about my favorite isekai of all time, Grimgar. And I say it's my favorite of all time. I still only rated it 9.5. Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. Grimgar, the Ashes and Illusions. Grimgar, light novel, manga, anime. It's such a good anime. It's only got 1 season. It's made by A1 Pictures, Sword Art Online, and Solo Leveling, and a whole bunch of new anime now. It's A1 Pictures. Grimgar is an amazing show. A great story in season 1. That does get a little overcomplicated and messy and a problem when you go into the light novel and you start learning about all these other things. But season 1 is still really good. I still really like season 1. It's fantastic. You should go check it out. I highly recommend. It's a 9.5. That's why I recommend it. To talk about it very thoroughly. The beginning, middle, and end, very good. So that's 5 points, okay? The beginning's nice and slow, nice and eerie and interesting, as most isekai probably should be. Most people should not be just okay with going to a fucking new world. You know, I get so sick of that shit. If you're sick of that, Grimgar is great for you. It's fantastic. The opener is great, going right into the action while still kind of giving you that time to breathe and then understand what's going on. The narration from the main character is really good. And then the middle stays, like, it's got nice action, it's got nice pacing, it's great. The ending to season 1 leaves off on an annoying, not a cliffhanger, it concludes, but it leaves off on such an open-ended, like, we could continue if we really wanted to, but we're not. I think it came out in 2016, this season, so we're 10 years. It's been 10 years. God, it's been 10 years. It's so good. Anyway, so that's 5 points. I give another point because the animation is really good. It's not insane, it's not crazy out there, but it's really good. It's coming hot off of... A1 Pictures was coming hot off of season 1 of Sword Art Online, I believe, at this point. Maybe it was season 2. I don't know. But the animation was really good. The animation was very solid for the time. Grimgar, very good animation, so that's another point. That's 6. The music. I sat and listened to the entire soundtrack so much when I still had Spotify. I still need to go through and grab some of the soundtrack. I just need to figure out what's what. Because when I was listening to the soundtrack again to find out which I wanted to grab, I would go through the entire soundtrack and I'm like, I think it's this one that I want. Because the soundtrack is just vibes. It's weird jazz. Like, it's all made by one artist. Let me grab and let me figure out what artist it is really quick. Give me just a second. I found it. So the artist is called No Name, Know name. You can find them on Spotify. They've made a lot of different music. They made the music for... Yeah, let me get this set up grid so I can see it a little easier. They made the music for Spy X Family. They made the music for the Spy X Family movie and the shows. I should specify. They made the music for Dorohedoro. The Dorohedoro. Fuck. I'm getting tongue-tied. Dorohedoro. Okay. They made the music for that. I think the opening... It looks like just the opening. No? No, they did the soundtrack too. The opening and the soundtrack. And then... Or the opening... Yeah, opening and soundtrack. They made... What is this? Fairy Gone. I think this was just their own... No, it says TV. I don't know. I don't know what that's from, actually. They also did the animation for... Or not the animation, the soundtrack for whatever that is. They made a lot. Is that 86? I don't think that's 86. I don't know. But yeah, Grimgar is kind of like the big one that they made. And they did a couple of... I think they did music for a couple other things. So like Grimgar, whatever that is. And I thought at one point they did Arknights. But I'm not seeing Arknights, so I might be wrong. I think I'm thinking of Jeff Williams, who did the Ruby soundtrack. Ruby, Jeff. No, not Jeff. Oh yeah, it was Jeff. Jeff Williams did do an Arknight song. Anyway, like I was saying, No Name did an amazing job with the soundtrack, so I give that a point. Okay, so that's 7 so far. Animation and music, that's 2 points added onto the original 5. That's 7. Another point for the story and intrigue. I really like the characters. I was really invested in what was going on with the characters. A lot of Grimgar, like, it's very strange for most isekai to do this. It feels weird, but like the Grimgar has a nice mixture of slice of life and not really slice of life, but just living life, if that makes sense. A lot of Grimgar is they go out and buy some new equipment, or maybe they're getting supplies. Like they're new to this world, so they have to buy stuff like food and find free housing, and they have to do all of these little things. But it's also being isekai to that world isn't new, so the world is built around it, or at least this town, I forgot the name of the town, is built around it. And so I love the world building too. Like the town is used to people coming from another world and just existing, and like the gods and the different, like the how it works for like the Dark Knights and the priests to have different gods and how they work together, and how all the, like there's all these different things with the world building that happens just within the anime if you just look a little closer. If you're just like if you just pay attention just a little bit more to what's going on, you notice these little things that are, to me, they're so interesting. I love the show so much. But yeah, the world building and lore is all there, so that's another point. That's an 8. And then my personal bias gets it to a 9. And that's another point. But the reason why I don't give it the 10, the reason it's a 0.5 and not another point of pure bliss and amazingness, is because it's just one season. It's because the series is one season. It could continue, it could do more, and it just doesn't. So the story feels incomplete. It feels like there should be another season. It feels like there should be more, and that is very disappointing. So for me, I don't give it the full extra point. It's a 9.5. Still really good. Still highly recommend it, but it's a 9.5. And now, unfortunately, I still have another 10 minutes to talk about stuff. So I'm gonna fill in just 10 minutes of bull. I'll just run through a bunch of these other ratings. Medaka Box, me and Section watched it. I gave it a 4. I cared, but I just stopped caring. The last little bit of Medaka Box was cool. That's where actually 2 of my points come from. The middle was so, like, it was just boring, dumb fun. So, like, I look back on Medaka Box and I can't remember anything cool about it. There was a couple of cool fights, so I gave it a point for each fight. You know, 3 good fights, and then the last fight at the end. So 4 whole points. It's, you know, it's not a whole lot to go on. And then Arc Knights, I gave a 3. Season 1, I gave a 3. I did not. The Arc Knights anime was not great. Like, can I be just completely honest with that? The Arc Knights, Arc Knights anime was not great. I really like Enfield. I'm really interested in how all that's progressing and going and whatever. But I just don't care. The anime sucked. It was not great. Season 2, I gave it 2.5. Episode 12, the last episode of Arc Knights, I thought... Wait, no. The last episode of Season 1 was especially bad. So me and Section gave that a specific rating. I gave it a 0.5. And then the duo movies. We have 3 ratings here. Because me, my brother, and Section watched this. I'm not going to give you those 3 ratings. We split the ratings for each movie. Okay? To... What is it? To you... I can't remember the fucking... to you... To every you I've loved before, and to every... Yeah, to every you I've loved before, okay? And to me, every hang on. I'm trying to find the other movie because there's two movies. To Every You I've Loved Before, and then to Me, the One Who Loved You. Okay. My brother and I, so Section had this brilliant idea. We're gonna watch the two movies at the same time, but in different orders. Okay. So my brother and I watched To Every You I've Loved Before. Okay, the blue one. If you don't know which one I'm talking about, just know it's the blue one. Because the other one's strangely very pink, very pinky orange, like in the thumbnail or whatever. But we watched the blue one first. I think. Yeah, we watched the blue one first, which I think is the superior one, because you get all of the appropriate and honest information, everything that's necessary to enjoy the movie, enjoy either of the movies in that movie. Okay? And so I did not care when we started watching To Me, To Me, the One Who Loved You. I cared about that story enough to a certain degree. I did not give a shit how it ended or like those characters at all. And Section even agreed, because he watched To Me, the One Who Loved You first, and then he watched To Every You I've Loved Before, and he liked To Every You I've Loved Before better than To Me, the One Who Loved You. Okay, this is gonna get really confusing. So, To Every You I Loved Before is the blue one. To Me, To Me, oh my god, it's To Every You I've Loved Before is the blue one. To Me, the One Who Loved You is the pink one. Okay, if you look at the thumbnail, the posters of the ones, whatever, you'll know which one they're talking about. Okay. To Every You Have Loved Before is just infinitely better. Okay, it is an 8.5. Meanwhile, the pink one is a 4. I did not like the pink one at all. It was a great story, great, it was interesting, cool. That one had enough screen time when it stretched into the blue one. Okay? The blue story, like the story in the blue one that had bits and pieces from the pink one, was an infinitely more interesting story than what the pink one made it out to be. So, that's my take. Overall, as an experience of watching the two back to back, front to back, front to back, back to front, it's a 7.5. So I watched it both ways after the fact. 7.5. BNA. Cool anime. Another is a Studio Trigger anime. I don't have a lot of Studio Trigger on here, aside from Edge Runners. But I also watched Gurren Lagann. I watched the movies when they were airing in the States. 3 years ago? Damn, it's 2023. Yeah, 3 years ago when they're airing in the States. I watched both of them. The first one I watched in English. The second one I watched subbed. But they were both really good. Anyway, BNA, I'm giving it an 8. And it's the second anime I experienced that was, should I say, doomed Yuri? Is that what it's called? Doomer Yuri? Whatever, like, it's something like that. I've been learning here and there some lingo, and that's one of them. It's just like Witch of Mercury, Doom Yuri, whatever. But Yuri, Doomer Yuri? I forgot. I don't care. Anyway, I thought it was okay. It was good. It was an 8. It to me, a lot better than Witch of Mercury, which was kind of my only base point. It's better than Witch of Mercury, better than Vivi as an overall experience. Better than Arknights, better than Medaka Box, better than the Duo movies. Just because I didn't have to... Because with the duo movies, it felt like I wasted my time watching the second one. Or watching the pink one. With B&A, I just sat and watched it. Had a good time. Cool. Great animation. Moved on. Hellsing Ultimate. Me and all of my friends, so my brother and 2 of my friends included, we watched all of Hellsing Ultimate. I gave it a 7. Just some dumb fun. It's some actual dumb fun to me, comparatively to Medaka Box. Ancient Magus Bride. I dropped that shit. Okay, and here's my deal. We got through 4 episodes of that show, okay? The third one was amazing. Okay? The third episode, fucking incredible. Okay? The third episode was fucking amazing. Episode 4 sucked ass. Episode 1 and 2, episode 1, kind of interesting. Vaguely interesting. Episode 2, could have held me a little bit better. You know, could have been better. But it was losing me. I was like, I didn't even want to watch episode 3. We watched episode 3, a fucking incredible story. Fucking 8 right there. And 8 for episode 3. And then episode 4 tore it all down. I was so fucking bored. I could not be bothered with that fucking show. I dropped it so hard after that. Because it had a chance, okay? That was its chance. Alright, because I gave it the 3 episode rule. I know it's a lot of seasons. Season 1, I dropped it. I was done. I was tired. I was sick of it. This episode 3 was so good. Episode 4 was so mid. But Batema Inverted. Great movie. Didn't waste time. Episode 8, gave it an 8. You know, I was even planning on doing an edit for this movie. I still have it in my drafts somewhere, but you know, I'll maybe post that edit. We'll see. Steins Gate. Like I said, I gave that. I talked about it earlier. I gave it a 10. It's the only time travel anime, time travel show, time travel movie that I've watched that does not really have any plot holes that make sense all the way through. Okay? Like, yes, the story gets complicated. Yes, the story gets to a point where maybe it's a little ridiculous, a little dramatic, a little dumb, whatever. But it stays consistent all the way through. It's amazing. I was so, like, that. A lot of my bias comes from that it makes sense all the way through. And then we have Devil May Cry. I'm a little salty on Devil May Cry. I've played 4 and 5. I've watched a lot of stuff about 1, 2, and 3. But I gave Devil May Cry, the anime series, a 7.5. And a little bit of bias here because I didn't like that Nero was the voice actor for Dante. It should have just been Dante. And a little less bias here because I actually appreciated all the little Easter eggs and knickknacks and all those little things. Like, for instance, Nero Angelo, or Angelo? Something Angelo. The persona of Virgil when he's kind of, you know, taken over by, what's his name? Whatever. But I like those little Easter eggs and I really appreciated it. But back to regular commentary. I'm cutting in right here, right at the end of the hour, at the Rogue-lite Power Hour. Thank you for watching. That was fucking awesome. I'm so glad I got that fucking weapon. I upgraded it so well. Oh my god. Day 3, and we got the stupid, I can't use my mouse right now to show you, but the challenge up here, if I can now, I'm out. No, okay. The less than 1,000 turns, we got that finally. Actually, we got that a while ago. But we got the defeat on day 3. You know, we got the less than 30 minutes. Let's fucking go. We finally got him. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what game you want me to play for the Rogue-lite Power for Monday, if you want to play a new one, or if you want me to play a community game, any game at all. Let me know. I'm gonna let this play out. Maybe there's a little cutscene like there was when I beat it the very first time on day 1. Yep. Let's watch this.
Day 4 unlocked. Holy shit. Chain Master, new guy. We'll try him. My goal, honestly, at some point, is to complete up to date, clear all the days, which is like, those like 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So those like there's 7 days. So I'm gonna complete all the days with Shadow, and at some point, maybe I bring Shogun Showdown to Sundays. I'm not sure. Like I'll alternate Skul and Shogun, because Skul is very much a beating my head against a wall to get to the end as many times as possible. Or like just beating my head against the wall until I get to the end, getting all the upgrades at the very least. But with Shogun, it's just constant completions, kind of like 20 minutes till dawn. So maybe I bring Shogun Showdown to Tuesdays. I don't know, because it's in the same vein. But I will, like I said earlier, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I will see you guys in the next one. Go check out the Discord. Upload schedule's there, and if anytime I make any kind of announcement, it'll be there. I will see you guys later.